Hello, and welcome to our show for the love of animals. We're so glad you joined us today. This is Angie, and I'm Darleen Pigford.
And I'm Greg Baur with our resident dog, Wicket. And we want to tell our viewers about a couple of upcoming shows. We have one that just fascinates the devil out of me, animals in the Native American culture. And we have another one which will be, I think, very informative on controlling pets and fleas. A problem that always occurs. But
You mean
Darleen,
ticks and fleas?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Well, Darleen,
Controlling pets, Greg, that's a whole volume.
yeah, that's exactly true. What do we have on tap for today? I think this sounds like fun.
Oh, it is. We have someone who's going to give you some fabulous tips about how to care and groom cats and dogs.
Okay.
So, why don't you introduce her?
I'll be happy to. We have with us today Michelle Fowler, who is from here in Paducah. She's a groomer, and she has done this for a number of years and has lots of good information for us. So, Michelle, thank you so much for sharing time with us today.
Thank you.
We're so glad that you could come. Now, understand also, in addition to be a groomer, you've been a vet tech.
Yes.
So, boy, this gives you I guess you would really know how to handle and calm these babies down.
They're actually better than you think.
Well, that's true. You know, very few people groom cats that I know of, but I know you do. Tell me how, give me some tips of like brushing this girl here, brushing cats. Help me out.
To start with.
Well, the best thing, you have to get the right tools. Each one has different hair textures. You know, there's a number of them. Slicker brushes, which I think you probably have one. I don't know. Just your basic slicker brushes. There's several different styles and kinds.
Okay.
That's your main thing. But then the tool, like I was talking to you about with your cat.
Yep, for long hairs.
For long-haired cats.
And lots of fur.
Lots of fur. This is basically the best tool for it. It has razors underneath, and it will, rather than pull the tangles, it'll break them apart, and it just pulls any of the loose hair out. Okay. With the long-haired cats, they have such a problem with the hairballs and stuff.
Oh, yes.
That it really, you know, but then we have a number of them, too, that shave them down, keep them cut short, which, you know, that's what I do a lot more of. But, you know, on just the regular long-haired ones, this is probably the best tool.
Okay. Well, I know you can get them all shapes and sizes, so I guess when you go to the store, you can just, you know, pick the ones that you think might work best on your cat.
Yeah. Try going like in PetSmart where you can try different ones, because every different cat, some cats won't like this. Some of them won't like different ones. And if you get one that pulls on your cat's hair, she's going to fight you tooth and nail. And you got to make it where it's something they enjoy. You know,
that's a very good point. Why is it important for us as pet owners to brush our cats?
For several reasons. The main one being the hairballs. You know,
Okay.
they do tend to have a lot of problems with hairballs, which causes the throwing up, the stool problems and stuff. You can brush them and also give them the hairball remedy stuff, the Laxatone or whatever. But that's the main reason for their health and benefit.
Okay.
But also it helps with people's allergies, the shedding, the dander, cat dander and stuff, which it does trigger a lot of people's allergies quite a bit.
Okay.
And also with the problem of hair on your furniture, shedding and things like that.
Yes, because if you don't brush him, then you're going to wear his hair as much as he does.
And you know, a lot of people think, Michelle, that if you have a short hair cat, that they don't shed.
They actually shed more than long-haired
know.
cats. Yes.
I know.
It's just amazing.
And then something like this isn't going to work on that. You can get like the shedding blades. It's basically the same instrument as what they use on slick horses and stuff. And most of them love it.
So that tool is better for long-haired.
Any long-haired cats, because what it does is it gets underneath, and it's got, like I said, little tiny razors under there, which when this cartridge, you can replace the cartridges on it.
I see.
And it will break it apart and brush it out. Then you get your slick-haired cats, which they love this. It feels like fingernails on their back.
I've never seen that before.
Basically, they use the same thing as what they use on horses.
Oh, really?
And it's the same, and you'd be surprised the amount of hair. And most of them, like I said, they'll lay, roll, they love it. It's like getting scratched.
Okay.
But
you know, I didn't know until recently what an undercoat is on our animals. You want to explain?
The undercoat's the cottony coat underneath, and a lot of times, like years ago, before pets were domesticated, it was like their protective winter coat.
I see.
Usually an animal that has an undercoat will blow coats, is what they refer to it, twice a year. You'll find big cotton balls everywhere, and a lot of people that aren't familiar with it think something's wrong, but it's just where they're blowing out that winter coat, or
I
they'll
see.
usually do it twice a year, usually fall and spring.
And that's both dogs and cats?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I also have heard that our senior cats need to be brushed a little more often.
Yeah, it's, again, for the health reasons, because they don't, they're not, a lot of them get heavier when they're older too. They're not as capable of cleaning, or they're a little lazier and they don't do it.
I got
And
you.
it does cause a lot more of the urinary or the intestinal tract problems from the hairballs and stuff.
Okay, so in other words, for their health and for our health, we need to
Yeah.
brush our
Yeah.
cats, right?
And so many people will get the long-haired cats thinking it's easier. And if they mat up a little bit, especially cat's hair, it's so fine. It will pull, their skin is like paper thin, and it will pull actually bald spots underneath of the tangles. And a lot of people don't realize how painful it is for them when they get the tangles.
All right, so with our cats, we need to be very, very careful.
Well, in a sense, it's just like the hair on your head.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you
Okay.
pull it too hard,
Yeah.
it hurts.
Yeah, and with a cat, a lot of times, a mother cat will carry their kittens, by the scruff of the neck.
Uh-huh.
If you hold your cat like that when you're brushing it, it's a comforting thing. A lot of people think
really?
it looks mean. It's very comforting, very soothing.
You mean
for 'em.
like that?
Just like a mama cat does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I need some tips on giving a cat a bath. I have a total fear of that. How do we do this?
That's when it comes in handy. You have to have a lot of upper strength, because you usually hold them up like mama does, like that. But no, most of them, the slick-haired cats are worse about getting groomed. I don't know why. They're a whole lot more difficult to bathe, or most of your cats are actually very good. I mean, I do a lot of them, and that's most people's fear. But most of them, as long as they're not, as long as they feel comforted, they're not too bad. Usually, if you've got them by the scruff of the neck, they can't really twist around to get you or bite you or anything.
So again, that's how we should give them the bath. Okay.
Yeah, because if you're trying to hold them any other way, teeth, feet, everything will be flying. Yeah,
Okay. Any special, can we use baby shampoo on them?
you can, but baby shampoo is oil-based. It has an oil to it, just
so
like babies.
it's not the best, okay.
I mean, I know, they have a lot of the pet shampoos. The only thing with the pet shampoos, you have to be careful. A lot of them don't have a lot of pH to it.
Okay.
Depending on how often you bathe your pets. A lot of times it will dry their skin out more. If you've got a cat with some dry skin, you can go with something like a general, like you would use for seborrhea or something.
Okay.
Paul Mitchell's got a good line of pet products now that's more skin-based and stuff.
I see.
How often should you bathe your cat?
It's a big controversy. A lot of people, I mean, they also have dry cat shampoos for,
Okay.
and it works real well. It's basically the same, but baby powder will do the same thing as well. If you're just, cats are fairly clean. They don't usually get as much of the odor or dirt problems as the
Particularly
dogs.
inside cats.
Right. But baby powder, if you want a quick fix to freshen them up, a lot of times sprinkle baby powder on. It'll absorb the oils in the skin and get rid of that musky cat smell or anything.
And so in other words, just comb it out.
Dust
That's
it
a
on,
good
comb it
tip.
through. Yeah,
Okay.
it works wonderful with dogs and cats.
So I guess kind of as needed then,
Yeah.
would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I've got usually cats once a month, once every couple of months. They're not as high maintenance as dogs.
Okay.
Well, there are not many cat baths given in our home, I guess.
Now, she was a good little girl when I did her.
You mean Angie? Yeah.
Yes, she really was.
Okay. Any other tips you can give us or help us about calming a cat, either to prepare it to be brushed or washed or, whatever?
Just like you're doing when you started with it as a kitten, rub on it, rub it, get it used to a lot of that. They have to get them, if you've got one that's crazy wild, they have I forget what they're like a mitt that you can put on your hand when you're petting them. And it's basically, it gets them used to the feel of the brush and the bristles. Most of them, if you'll play around with your cat and find the right tool, they like it. It feels good, comforting to them.
Yeah, and I know they love to be petted, and
Yeah.
we have one cat that just loves it right here, right here. So you have to find, I guess, their
Yeah.
favorite spot.
Like I said, I mean, they have another one, like they have the undercoat rake, which is the other thing that I use on some of the long-haired cats, which some of them would prefer
Oh.
that. And it gets under and pulls out if it's a thicker undercoat, and it's for that. It's a matter of finding which one your cat likes
I
the best.
gotcha.
So, kind of experimentation, and it's going to vary from cat to cat, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And they'll let you know real quick.
Yes, they do.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, we're just doing wonderfully well with the
Yes,
cats
it's
and so
wonderful information.
And at this point, though, we want to take a short break, and we have a forget-me-not today. Many of you know that many times on the show we do a forget-me-not to honor a pet who's deceased, and this is a very special pair of dogs today, Chelsea and Mr. Spock. So let's give a listen.
Our two dogs, Chelsea, a female American Eskimo, and First Officer Mr. Spock, a male skipper key, came to us on the same day in 1991 as puppies. They came from two different breeders and were born just 4 weeks apart. They quickly became best friends and shared their toys, food, and space. They were perfect examples of how people should treat others. Their personalities were completely different. Chelsea was empathetic, loving, and anxious to please. She was skittish around new people and always welcomed us home. Mr. Spock was tailless, had pointed ears, and never got tired, and never knew a stranger, but he did love to have the last word. It often sounded like a woof that made a sassing sound. Both graduated from pet kindergarten, Chelsea after 2.5 weeks, and Mr. Spock after 7.5 weeks while living full-time with his trainer. When Mr. Spock passed away of cancer in 1998, Chelsea grieved, as did we, for a long time. We lost Chelsea in 2007. Both dogs brought us so much love and comfort. We will never be able to replace them. We thank God for allowing us to share our lives with them.
Wasn't that a wonderful story about Chelsea and
Yes.
Mr. Spock? We'd like to thank the Modestits from Fort Wayne, Indiana for sharing that with us. And in the honor of the two dogs, they have made a donation to the Fort Wayne, Indiana Animal Care and Control Society up there. So we thank them very much for sharing that wonderful tale with us.
Didn't those animals form a wonderful bond
Yes.
with their caregivers and also with each other?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
That's a heartfelt story.
And don't forget, if viewers, if you have a pet that you would like to honor like this, all you need to do is contact us. And you have the information to do that. You can give me a call at 443-8330 or email me rather at greg_Baur@comcast.net. Well, this afternoon we're talking with Michelle Fowler, who is a groomer and a local vet tech, and we've just been talking about cats. So let's switch now to dogs, Michelle, and go with the same kinds of questions. How best to groom our dogs?
Same with the cats. It's a matter of finding the right tool for them and getting
Okay.
them used to it when they're younger. Most of them, if you find the right thing, they like it. Same, for the slick-haired dogs, you've got the shedding blades, and now they have the new furminators and different models of that. It works wonderful, but it's very time-consuming, and it's a lot of times you have. Yeah, I've got mine.
Now, this
Yeah.
one is
Yeah.
for a dog,
Yes.
but I use it on cats.
It works, but as you notice, it is a time-consuming tool. It does take, and a lot of them won't sit still very long for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice after a while I'll get a meow or a yup. That's a
I mean,
time to quit.
The fine bristles in there will pull, because what it does is it works pulling the undercoat and a lot of that out. Which and it is wonderful, but it does take its time, and I think after a little while they get a little impatient.
Oh, I know they do.
Now, I know that cats shed a lot more than we think, but
Oh, yeah.
I've also understood that dogs, they'll shed, but they don't shed maybe quite as much as cats do.
Or
Is
does
that
it
true?
depend on the breed?
Depends on the breed. You have
Okay.
different breeds that do, and again, your slick-haired dogs shed a whole lot more than your slick-haired cats.
Now, when
Or
you
than
say
your-
slick, do you mean short?
Like a lot of people will go by a lab, a Boston Terrier, a pug,
Right.
thinking slick hair, they don't shed, where they actually shed worse than the longer-haired breeds.
Okay.
Most of your long breeds, as you were asking about the undercoat, they have the undercoat and it comes out in clumps. It's easier. Where you're slick-haired, it's just a constant shedding of replacing hair.
Well, now, how about Wicket here, he being a Shih Tzu?
Shih Tzus are not supposed to shed. I know, there's always the exceptions, and usually they don't. They're, supposed to be good for people with allergies and stuff because they don't shed.
I was about to say, well, Wicket shows very little evidence of
Very
shedding.
little evidence
And he would, given a month or two, he'll get very, very long hair.
Oh, yeah. Because, and the biggest thing with them is whether or not you want to brush them, keep them brushed out. Because, they're a dog that requires either haircuts or constant brushing because they have that fine hair that doesn't shed, you know.
Any special tips now on giving a dog a bath? A little easier than a cat, I think, aren't they?
Most of them are pretty good. Really, most of them are, if you start them when they're young, they get used to it and they're pretty good about it. Their biggest fear, I think, is the slick bathtub. If you'll put a bath mat or something in there, a lot of times they won't step off of that bath mat, so it kind of limits their space and it gives you a little more control over them.
I've noticed that when I bathed Wicket and one of our other dogs in the past, that if it's just on and as you say, the bathtub is a great surface, but it's also very slick.
Slick for them.
And I found very quickly that bath mat that
Yes.
you just mentioned is the best thing for them to.
Same thing if
be
you're
on top of.
brushing them. If you put them like on your washer or dryer and put a bath mat on there, usually they'll stay right on that mat and it kind of limits their space, which gives you a little more control for grooming and such.
Okay.
Any other suggestions for, like, if we're going to groom or give our dog a bath, of calming them down, of, helping with the environment?
It's a lot of, a lot of dogs are scared to death of the water, the whole,
Right.
if you get them used to it when they're young, that does well. Or, they make a lot of the pet calming things. I don't know if it really works. Usually if you associate it with the rubbing and the loving, once they get in there, they realize they're pretty much going to get a complete rub down, then they kind of get to where it's okay. But, I think it's more the water that scares most of them.
Okay.
Like a hose might scare them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say I don't think you'd want to use a hose very often, particularly
Well-
in the house or whatever with it. But
Well, the sprayers like on the bathtub and stuff. And a lot of times if you'll go, you can get the kind that attach over your bathtub nozzle. A lot of times if you can do them in a sink higher up, they're calmer for some reason. 'Cause if
Ooh, it's easier on the back, too.
Oh yeah, yeah. But usually if they're up, they're at a disadvantage. They're, and anytime you can put them more up on your level and work on them, then it's better. When you're down on the floor trying to brush or down at the bathtub, there's too much getaway room.
Oh, that's good psychology. I never thought about that.
well, and let's see if this is what I'm about to say is true. Also, you mentioned that if you can do it while you're young, that's fine.
Right.
But let's say they're not young. But it almost seems that the more gentle that you are in the approach and trying to keep it from becoming a scary situation for either the cat or the dog, you're probably going to be far more successful, aren't you?
Right, and if you break it, you expect the first time probably is not going to go that well. They're going to be scared, and it's just getting them each time, getting a little more used to it and showing them that it's not going to hurt them.
Okay.
Any special tips on shampoos for dogs?
Same basic thing.
Okay.
I will go and buy a lot of supplies, hot oil treatments, medicated shampoos and things like that to treat, because dogs
Right.
have dandruff problems, skin allergies, just like people. And you just kind of have to go by your pet's skin and see what, and one thing, like a dandruff shampoo, a medicated shampoo will kill fleas and treat a skin problem at the same time.
Oh.
And it's not hard on their skin. It won't dry their skin out like the pet flea shampoos and stuff a lot of times.
Okay.
Well, that's good to know.
And that would be true also for cats too,
Yes.
wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's safer. Like I said, a lot of the medicated shampoos or the flea shampoos for the pets are very harsh.
Very harsh.
Yeah.
And you can, I guess, could also try, if you have any doubt, you could just try a little
Yeah.
place on their back or something like that to see what reaction the shampoo has
Right.
to their skin.
Usually if you've got one with skin problems or irritations, you can go with a mild, simple person shampoo and, you won't usually have a problem. You can use conditioners, help keep it from matting, just like you would your own.
Okay.
But test it out.
So very much
Wow.
like what people would use on their hair.
Yeah,
With the exception of the
a
oil
lot
base.
Of, yeah.
Yeah, with the
well,
exception of the oil base.
I use a lot of hot oil treatments, a lot of stuff like that to treat dry skin problems and stuff. The biggest thing people should know is play with their pets' feet so that they get used to having their toenails done. That's people don't think about that a lot, and that's the biggest battle in grooming a dog or a cat's clipping their toenails.
Well, I'll tell you, we are just getting a wonderful
Oh,
wealth
yes.
of information today, Michelle.
Thank you.
We want to take another short break at this point, and we have a happy tale for you about Sweets. And Sweets has to be the perfect example of a big, old, pampered cat. So give a listen. I think you'll enjoy this one.
Hi, my name is Sweets, and I'm a 9-year-old male tabby cat. I guess I'm a little unusual because I don't have any stripes, but I have a ring pattern. Kathy, my person, says I have 2 bullseyes on either side of my bright orange body. The 2 spots are very ticklish to me. I started life as a barn cat, but got into a fight with another cat and was hurt pretty badly. When they took me to the vet, he found that I was allergic to several antibiotics, and so it took some great care and surgeries to pull me through. I now have become a grandpa to 3 abandoned kittens, Kingsford, Cold, and Exie. They're now 3 years old, and they love to tickle my sides. I love to be scratched and petted. And if you hit my ticklish spots, it sends me into orbit. Kathy says my purr turns into a laugh, but that doesn't last very long, and I always come back for more. I guess you could say I'm a very pampered cat. I love to sit on the front porch and watch the cars go by, and as well as the people, but I like to spend most of my time indoors with Kathy, Jim, and Elizabeth. I have a favorite chair and sleep on the bed so that I can wake Jim in the middle of the night for a food run. Garfield has nothing on me. Thanks to the Keenies, I have a wonderful, happy, forever home.
Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed that little happy tale about Sweets. An unusual thing about him is that his markings, he's not striped, but he has kind of like rings or bullseyes on his side.
That's unusual.
Yes, and Kathy Keeney, his owner, tells me that those are his ticklish spots. And all you have to do is touch him there and he goes into orbit. And he's a grandpa to some little kittens, and they figured out how to get to the ticklish part with him. So that is just a real wonderful tale about Sweets.
Rags to riches, barn cat to a pampered beauty.
Absolutely. Well, our guest this afternoon is Michelle Fowler, who is a groomer and a vet tech, and she's giving us some wonderful ideas about the care of your cats and your dogs. And we want to move now to an area, Michelle, how do we deal with nails? What's the best way to keep their nails trimmed and so on, like for both cats and dogs?
I like the scissor type nail clippers. They don't seem they don't seem to shatter the end as much. They have a lot of the grinding tools, but a lot of dogs won't sit still for that. It scares them, the vibration. Now this is one you can get simple at Walmart, any pharmacy, anything. But a lot of times, if your pet won't sit still for that, if you can get it cut, and then just use just a basic fingernail file like they use for acrylic nails to knock the edges off so they're not so sharp. The more often you cut them, the shorter you'll be able to take them.
Okay.
If you do cut it, break it, and it bleeds, you're at home. I like that they've got the septic pencils. You just wet it and put it on, and it will stop the bleeding. If you don't have something at home, flour, baby powder, something like that will usually clot it up. A lot of people panic. They do bleed really bad when you cut their nails if it cuts too short.
Well, and one of the things you have to be careful of is getting up too far. And a lot of people think that they want to just go all the way and make one cut and do everything instead of coming gradually.
Right. Usually a general rule of thumb is it's separate, and then where it joins back together is about where the quick ends, and you can usually cut off from about just a little past that on.
Okay. And I can vouch for the styptic pencil.
Yes, they're wonderful.
Years ago when I used to shave the styptic pencil, it was one of my best friends.
Yes, that's right. It's a little easier to deal with than the powder.
Now, what about things to help, say, cats with their claws, such as scratching posts and things like that? Are those
You can
really
cut their
helpful?
toenails just like you can a dog's toenails, and they do that to keep them sharp. So they're going to do it regardless.
If they're going to do it on your furniture, you don't want that, so that's why you have a
They make a
sketch.
plastic, almost like a fake nail, that a rubber tip you can glue over them for to help with that. But usually if you cut them back, it'll keep them from clawing so much.
Okay. Do most of those have a little guard on them? Most of the clippers?
Cutting
Most
tools?
of them, but you can't really go by that because a lot of times, that allows quite a bit of space.
Yes.
And, but it's a good general rule to use. But the more often you cut your pet's nails, the shorter you can get them. If that nail bed gets outgrown out long.
And particularly if they're indoor animals, you want to keep them shorter, I would think, would you?
Right, because they do get sore. Instead of walking flat on their feet, if their nails are long, they'll walk on the nails, and it will make their toes sore, which in turn makes them more touchy about having them clipped or fooled with.
Just like if we cut one of our fingernails and it's too short,
Right.
it
Oh,
hurts.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you previously mentioned that one of the things that we as pet owners can do is to see. She didn't like
Yeah.
is to rub their paws so they get used to being
Right.
right. And this Wicket, can I rub your paw, huh?
Of course,
Oh, yeah,
Mom,
now
of
see
course.
there?
Say, I'm a good boy. Now, the majority of animals, 85–90% of them, do not like their feet or their toenails full. But,
Okay.
I mean,
Well-
it's not. You don't have a bad dog if he, has a fit over his feet. So.
Okay. Well, we're beginning to draw a little bit to the end. We've got a little bit of time left. Michelle, what main points have you made this afternoon that you would like to repeat real quickly for our viewers to kind of remember the show by?
Just the main thing is, remember, if they get matted up, it's not just about their looks. The mats will pull their skin, and it makes them sore, and it causes sores underneath and causes health problems.
Okay.
That's the main, that, and then taking care of their toenails, for simple fact, to keep their feet from being sore.
And the thing that I've gotten from what she said, that cats and dogs need to be gently brushed from the time they're young.
Yes.
And if if you're watching television or something, just
Right.
caring for them.
Right.
And that helps in the future to make it easier to groom them and to take care of them in that way.
And just one quick point about that. We think, well, outside animals, we don't think about grooming, but that's
Right.
just as important as indoor
Right,
animals,
because when
isn't it?
if they're outside and they've got mats or problems, that gets wet under there, it causes sores and raw spots and everything.
And if our viewers wanted to get more information about grooming from you, Michelle, how could they contact you?
I have a Facebook page where I get a lot of email with just basic questions.
Questions.
It's under Grooming Dell's Michelle Fowler, or they can call the shop. I'd be glad to answer questions.
And your phone number?
270-534-8067.
Okay.
And I'll tell you,
Time flies when you're
Oh.
having fun.
and I'll tell you, we have just learned so much this afternoon,
Yes.
Michelle, and we really want to thank you very much for taking time out from your busy schedule to join us and give us some wonderful tips on keeping our pets healthy on the outside,
Exactly,
Thanks for
exactly.
just
having
as
me.
important on the inside. So thank you so much for coming this afternoon.
And particularly, there's a lot of information about grooming a dog, but thank you so much for adding information
You're
about
welcome.
grooming cats. I mean,
Yes,
even
exactly.
though maybe you don't do it every month,
Right.
but
probably
taking
should-
care of them.
We probably should do it more.
Well, we brush all the time.
Well, we're just about out of time. So in closing,
I'm Darlene.
I'm Greg, and want to tell our viewers again, like we do all the time, give your pet a little extra love today
And every day.
See you next time.
Bye.